Ladies and gentlemen, fight fans all around the world, I'm going to talk some boxing. I'm what you need. You're watching my channel. If you like what you're seeing here, hit the like button. You can subscribe, share, donate, and if you want to, you can do this through Western Union or MoneyGram. Check me out for more details. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about the title as you can see there. Before you do, I'm going to go outside and plant. This is known as scythe. So even though I bought it in the store, what you guys would call, I forgot what you would call it, market, I guess. You call it a market. Um, you can take the bottom part of it, don't throw it away, and stick it into soil, and it grows. Also here I have some turmeric, what it actually looks like. So you guys may know of turmeric as this yellow powder, right? But you can get the actual turmeric itself. Let me show you what it looks like here. Keep this stationary for a minute. And your turmeric looks something like this. It's a root, so this is the bag of turmeric here. You can't really see it there. Looks like this. I'm going to snap it in half. I'm going to probably use this one. It looks like a carrot on the inside. Turmeric is actually related to carrots. It's very, very good for your digestive system. It's an anti-inflammatory, prevents cancers, prevents infections in other parts of the body. Me, for the last couple of days, I've been having some dehydration issues, constipation stuff, been in the sun a lot, and I haven't really hydrated myself enough when I come out of the sun. So I would advise you guys to use turmeric, though. It's very good for your body. But more important than turmeric and all those things, if you're going to take something into your body, besides air, water. Guys, a lot of diseases are caused because of lack of water and restriction of flow of things, okay? So make sure and drink as much water as possible. So I just wanted to show you guys this because this is what I'm going to go outside and plant either a little later on today or maybe, so yeah. Oh, what I'm going to tell you about the turmeric, sorry. Excuse me. I still have a little reflux issues, but you can take this and stick this into the ground as well. You try to put it underneath the soil, and the turmeric plants will come up. They'll sprout up. And once they're sprouted up, I have some ginger out there. I also have some garlic. I put into the soil. The plants are coming up, okay? Sometime I'll show you guys that. But try to grow your own food. Growing your own food is a very good thing. So let me just put these things away. We're going to go outside for a minute as well. So let me take this. We're going outside here. So Floyd Mayweather posted on Instagram that he consecutively beat 16 world champions, and he listed all of them. You can see the pictures of all of them in his Instagram post. Now, that information is inaccurate. All you have to do is pay attention to the pictures, and you'll notice that Marcus Maidana, his face is shown twice. So he didn't beat 16 consecutive world champions. If anything, he beat 15 consecutive world champions. That's the first point. The second point is that while that's a great achievement, several people came up and brought the point, the criticism, that because there are so many belts in boxing today, he's able to do that. And he wouldn't have 16 or 15 consecutive world champions he beat one after the other were it not for the fact that there are more belts in boxing. Now, to the degree that is true, and I agree with it to a degree. I'll explain to you what I mean. But if you really examine these champions that Floyd Mayweather has beaten consecutively, it's pretty impressive, whether you consider it from now or all time. And I'll just explain what I mean. But first, what is the true part? Well, it so happens that if you're looking at consecutive wins against world champions, you're beginning at Arturo Gatti, and you're working your way all the way up to Andre Berto. The thing about this is, that would be the 15 consecutive world champions. In between there is a world champion who has not had one of the original belts. Okay? So for you guys to kind of fully understand what I'm saying, by the way, I just want you to have a look at this beautiful plant over here, these beautiful plants here. You know, I'm going to say something to you guys so you will understand. Having plants around you and greenery really helps your mentality, brings calm and focus to you. I would always advise guys, people, even if you're living in a city, to get some plants and put them on your windowsills of your windows if you're in an apartment building that's above ground floor, or even outside your building. You put them on the windowsills. And you can also put them inside. You have house plants, get 1 or 2 house plants. Don't get too many, because on the inside, in the night, they actually use the oxygen that you use. They actually respire. In the day, they use carbon dioxide and sunlight. You want to keep the plants near to the sunlight so they can get some sunlight through a window. So that's why I say keep them near the windows. But plants have a way of literally assisting and helping us in our own metabolism, morale, mentality. They give off certain types of, I guess, hormones. They're not called hormones, but hormones that also assist us. Okay, and then it's therapeutic and it's psychological in the sense that if you're caring for plants, it's like you're caring for children. It gives you more responsibility, etc. They will reflect your mind state as well, how you treat them. All right, so going, and literally, I mean, whatever you do in your house, the plants are going to actually have a reaction to that. Now, anyway, going back to what we were saying. So for you to appreciate what I just said about one of the champions not having, or having what we call an additional belt from the original belts. The original belts were the WBC and WBA belts. This is what makes an undisputed champion if he won both. Those 2 belts go all the way back, at least the number of belts, go all the way back to 1920, when the New York State Athletic Commission first put forward a belt to make a person a world champion, at least in the United States of America. In the UK, it was the BBB of C. It wasn't known as the BBB of C. It was known as something else. But actually, no, the BBB of C was what it was known as, sorry. And then in Europe, they also had their own belt. I think it was called the EU belt, something like that. And in 1922, I believe it is, the National Boxing Association crowned another title known as the NBA belt. Those 2 belts together made you the undisputed champion of the world. Sugar Ray Robinson won the NBA belt back in 1948 or 49. I can't remember which one it was, or 46. I think it was 46. And because he won that belt, he was just partially considered as undisputed, because he was not undisputed. He had the partial championship title. And then when he got to win both belts, he became undisputed. I'm trying to remember where he won the NBA, the NYSAC from. I think they awarded it. I think it was vacant as well. And he won that and he became undisputed. Similarly, today, the New York State Athletic Commission is a commission still, but their belt has been replaced by the WBC belt, the World Boxing Council belt. And the NBA, which is still around, the National Boxing Association, and they still, on occasion, have their title up for people to get, that was replaced by the World Boxing Association. So guys like Sugar Ray Leonard, he had the WBA, he was undisputed. Muhammad Ali came in the WBA, WBC time, and so on. Now, any person, therefore, who has won either the WBA or WBC belt has basically, when you stem it back, basically won the same number of belts or the same kind of belts as back in 1921 and 1922 when the New York State Athletic Commission's belt came out and the National Boxing Association's belt came out, the NBA and the NBC and the NYSC. So, quite frankly, what's amazing, and this is the interesting occurrence, is out of those 15 world champions, 14 of them were either WBA or WBC champions at some point in their career. Therefore, for people to say that there were too many belts available, this is why Mayweather was able to beat so many consecutive world champions, is not exactly true, except in the case of Robert Guerrero. Robert Guerrero was the 11th consecutive world champion that Floyd Mayweather had beaten. So because of that, he would rarely have beaten 10 consecutive world champions who had the original, or shall we say, the replacements to the original belts. Okay? There was never at any time one belt that made a world champion. This is just a fact, which a lot of people do not know. There were two belts. And you were considered undisputed world champion when you had both. So someone could win a version of the championship. They could have either won the WNBA or the NYSAC. Nowadays, you can win the WBA or the WBC belt. Those would stem back to the original belts. And the amazing thing about this is Mayweather faced 14 of those champions in his consecutive winning streak. But Robert Guerrero broke that winning streak when he faced Robert Guerrero. Robert Guerrero was an IBF world champion in 2 divisions. We don't consider the interim belts. We do not consider the regular belts. We only consider the super champions and the people who are authentic champions. No regular belts. Regular belt means you're not champion. You have to be the super champion to be champion, okay? If you're dealing with the WBA. And with the WBC champion, no interim stuff. So when you look at that, Floyd Mayweather actually faced 14 bona fide champions with no extra belts, right? They won the original kind of belts, in other words, or a version of it, or if they were undisputed, they had both. So they were undisputed for real. So, having said that, Robert Guerrero kind of broke that winning streak. He was an IBF world champion in Floyd Mayweather's 11th consecutive championship fight against a world champion. Now, another thing that might confuse people is that Floyd Mayweather didn't necessarily face these guys when they were world champions and had a title. So what are we talking about when we talk about world champions? 16 consecutive. What the understanding is, if you have faced a guy or a guy wins a title, he is considered for the rest of his life as a world champion. That's why we say, okay, champ, yes, champ, even though Zab Judah is not a champion right now, and that is, he doesn't have a title, he's considered a champion because of his status and the level he reached, and then the level at which he fought at was championship level, so that mindset is always he has been a world champion, especially if he successfully defended his title. So based on that, when you look at these different fighters, when you start off with Arturo Gatti, who was the WBC world champion, when you look at Zab Judah, who was the WBC, WBA world champion, Carlos Baldomir was the WBC world champion when he faced Floyd. Oscar De La Hoya was a WBC world champion when he faced Floyd, but he was also WBC, WBA, and I believe as a IBF, I think, world champion. He was undisputed. And then you have Ricky Hatton, who was the WBA welterweight world champion. And in addition to that, he was the WBC, WBA, and IBF, or was it WBA? I think it was WBA, IBF, and WBO world champion at a lower weight class. And then after him was Juan Manuel Marquez, who was the WBC world champion just before he faced Floyd Mayweather at a lower weight class as well. He was WBC, WBA world champion at lower weight classes than that. And then we had Shane Mosley, was WBC, WBA, I think that's about it. WBC, WBA welterweight world champion as well as WBC, WBA super welterweight world champion. And he was WBA world champion before he just faced Floyd Mayweather. He just beat Antonio Margarito. And then we have, after him, we had Victor Ortiz, who was the WBC welterweight world champion when he faced Floyd. And then we have Mika Cotto, who was the, he had won almost every belt at welterweight. I think he didn't have the WBC, or maybe he did have it. I can't remember. And then he was the WBA world champion when he faced Floyd at super welterweight. So up to Cotto, you have 10 world champions who either had the WBC or WBA world title at some point, or had both. So they are not new world champions. It's not like they have more belts, so therefore they became. No, most of them actually were WBC or WBA world champions. They worked with WBC or WBA anyway. Now, after Robert Guerrero, and this is very interesting information, Floyd went on to face 4 more WBC, WBA world champions. So the only person in that whole thing that was not WBC or WBA was Robert Guerrero. He kind of stopped the winning streak. But it was a pause, and then he went back to facing, and they were Marcus Maidana, who was the WBA world champion at welterweight, currently was that champion, super champion at that. And then after that was, I forgot, Canelo Alvarez, who was the WBC, WBA super welterweight world champion, unified world champion, unifying with Austin Trout, who was the WBA world champion, and he himself being the WBC world champion. And after that was Marcus Maidana, and then after that was Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao was not a WBC or WBA world champion when he faced Floyd Mayweather. He was the WBO world champion. But his very first world title at flyweight was the WBC flyweight world champion. And then he went on to become WBC world champion multiple times after that. So he was also a WBC world champion. And then after that, he faced Andre Berto, who was the WBC welterweight world champion after Floyd had retired, was beaten by Victor Ortiz, and Victor Ortiz became the WBC world. So you can see that he then faced 4 other WBC or WBA world champions, which is incredible. I always tell people that Floyd Mayweather's level of competition consecutively, one after the other, was always very high. And whether you try to do it between now or yesteryear, his competition was very, very high. You can make excuses. Oh, there were more world champions in the world today than there are yet. Not really. That point does not fly. Now, it wasn't consecutive, but it's still remarkable because it wasn't consecutive because of Robert Guerrero, if you look through time, right? But the weird thing is, if Robert Guerrero wasn't a world champion, he would have been a contender. And he would have been a top-tier contender, obviously, because he beat Andre Berto, who was a former world champion, etc. But the point is, if you look at it holistically, that Robert Guerrero kind of broke the winning streak, he still faced 14 world champions. No matter how you look at it through time, 14 world champions, only and almost consecutively if it wasn't for Robert Guerrero. That is remarkable. That's fight after fight after fight. You're fighting top tier. There is no stay busy fights in between. None of that stuff. Okay? You're talking really top tier stuff. as I said before, the only guy I think who kind of matches that some way, somehow, is Muhammad Ali. I don't think there's anybody else, you know. I mean, you can go through time and you can look at like Jack Johnson and all these other guys, but there were mandatories, and he never faced the colored fighters, so you can't really say. But I would say this: I'm just showing you Floyd Ford, the top tier. Now, the other excuse that people make, I'm taking my time with this video, so how long it ever lasts is cool. I'm not really tripping. But the final thing I want to say is that, and you can always speed up the video, folks. The last thing I want to say is that some people say, well, Floyd Mayweather cherry-picked his fights. He waited till these guys were too old, and he picked it at the right moment in time, and blah, 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 blah. To this, I will say this. If you really pay attention, the fighters that Floyd faced called him out. The only fighters he called out, he didn't even get his way with them. And that was Manny Pacquiao. He called out Manny Pacquiao in 2010, tried to make the fight with him, and did not succeed. People think it's brilliance that he drew out the fight 5 years too late. No, he was making offers almost every year. 2010, 2011, he made another offer. He ended up having to face Miguel Cotto. Pacquiao lost his 2 fights. He went on to, try to make an offer again in 2012. So it was 3 times in a row he made offers. 2000, 2011, and then 2012. Why are you repeatedly making offers? It's because you want to fight the guy. He's not trying to draw out the fight. He didn't get things his way. He wanted to face Pacquiao after Marquez, and Pacquiao turned him down at first. Yes, he turned him down in 2010. That's why he faced Shane Mosley. Right? He faced Marquez to show that a guy Pacquiao's size, I could beat him easy. Okay? He was making a point. And then he wanted Pacquiao after Marquez, because Marquez was Pacquiao's rival. He never got it. Okay? This is the truth. I'm here to give truth. I'm not here to try and favor fighters or massage them. And the truth of the matter is that he had to force Pacquiao to face him in 2015. He confronted him, and he talked to him face to face. Okay, now Pacquiao also wanted the Mayweather fight because it was a lot of money. Mayweather was #1 pound for pound in the world at the time. In 2012, at least he was talking that way. And he was talking about how excited he was, and he overlooked Marquez after he had lost to Timothy Bradley. People think controversially, but nonetheless, he lost to Timothy Bradley. Here he's talking about Mayweather after he lost to Timothy Bradley at that. Overlooks Marquez, gets knocked out by Marquez. So that just kind of dulled everything until Pacquiao came back in 2013 and had a winning streak in which he beat Brandon Rios, Chris Algieri, and Timothy Bradley. It was a very impressive winning streak. That got everybody excited for the fight, and so Pacquiao ended up facing Mayweather. That's how it went down. Okay? And if you listen to interview after interview with different internet media, when asked Floyd after the Victor Ortiz fight, Floyd said straight up, they're lying to you. They're lying to you about what they're telling you about me not wanting to fight and I'm a chicken and all that. They're lying to you. They're doing this to live off my name. They're doing this to associate Pacquiao with me so that he can sell his pay-per-views. And he was right. He was right. Because Floyd didn't use Pacquiao's names to promote his fights. He never did. But you always see Mayweather's names coming up when Pacquiao got a fight. Right? Bob Arum was pushing that, obviously, and it worked. It caused a lot of people to want to see that fight from Pacquiao and Mayweather, because a lot of people thought it would never happen. And a lot of people had the impression that Mayweather was afraid to face Manny Pacquiao. Mayweather got sued for calling Pacquiao a drug cheat. And he also went on social media, and I think this is what made a lot of Pacquiao fans mad at him. talking about Pacquiao feeding him rice, because Floyd just had no respect for Pacquiao after Pacquiao did not make the fight with him. He was very angry. And I remember in 2000, I believe it was just before the Cotto fight, Stephen A. Smith was asking Floyd a lot of questions. And Floyd said, man, when y'all see the Pacquiao fight, y'all gonna say, this guy, I thought he was all that, because I'm gonna beat him so easy. He told him, tell everybody that in 2012. Nobody believed it. Paulie Malignaggi in 2015, just before the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, said this is a fight that's not going to be as exciting as people think it's going to be. Mayweather's going to beat Pacquiao easy, and y'all going to be mad. And true to form, that's what happened. And now we got crazy people on the internet saying how Pacquiao won the fight, and we got some nutcases out here trying to show how he did. It makes no damn sense. If you know anything about boxing, you laugh at that, okay? And they're doing punch counts and shit like that. I'm like, punch counts? Punch counts don't win you fights. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man. So anyway, to this day, a lot of people try to hate on Floyd Mayweather using the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, which I thought was just an amazing fight. The athleticism, the skill, the reflexes, the timing, the IQ that was used in that fight is just exceptional. It's a tactical fight, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. Canelo Alvarez versus Sergey Kovalev was a tactical fight, and fights today are going to become more tactical and more technical. They're not going to be barn burners and fights like what Sugar Ray Leonard had with his opponents. It's just not going to happen, you know. And a lot of you guys want to see a Ray versus Hagler or Ray versus Duran or Hearns or whatever. You guys keep on talking about the four kings. You don't understand. Boxing has so changed from that. Guys are very intentional about what they're saying. You know, people talk about instinct and instincting. Mayweather will describe to you in detail. In fact, I was watching a video just recently where Mayweather, when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, corrected Jim Lampley when he was facing, I believe it was Henry Bercelis. And Jim Lampley said how Mayweather went southpaw once. And Mayweather corrected him and said, I went southpaw twice. He's very much aware of what he's doing in that ring. And a lot of people feel it's just instinctual. Not with Mayweather. He told you, every move's calculated. He's very cognizant. He's very conscious of what he's doing. And I'm telling you guys, he's going to be a great trainer because of that. Because he knows the science of boxing. This is not a man working on instinct like Sugar Ray Leonard. He's a level above Leonard. He's a level above Sugar Ray Robinson. He don't just throw punches because his hands were bad. He don't just throw punches. He's very intentional about what he does. And that's the thing a lot of people just don't understand. When you're a grandmaster of martial arts, you know what. It's not just instinct where you react to something and you do what you learn. You're on a higher level. Sugar Ray Leonard loves Bruce Lee. I heard him in sparring. He was going, ah, wah! I was like laughing. Ain't pretty to look at, don't get me wrong. Did some really remarkable things against his sparring opponent, but I'm sorry. Leonard is on a level mentally below Mayweather. And why is that a problem? We're seeing Canelo having that similar approach that Mayweather has, that dissecting approach. That I'm going to hit you, you're not going to hit me approach. And all of the little clever, little craftiness that Canelo does to stop his opponent from hitting him. Crafty things he does with his hands. Remind me a little bit of the throwback with Georgie Benton. You know? And Benny Briscoe. I'm throwing it way back now. These inside fighters, you know. Shit that they did was crazy, you know. But you guys, you know, they borrow things from the past, but then they bring this new science to the game. You see, where Benny Briscoe and Georgie Benton, you know, would trap your hands in here. Now Canelo takes it, and he takes it a step further. He don't want to trap your hands. He just want to have your glove hesitate inside of his arm for a second. Just hesitate, just small little hesitate, so he could catch you with the right. You know what I'm saying? Tommy Temple, what's up, my dude? When I start breaking down the science of boxing to you guys, and Hidden Gem has some great stuff as well. When I start breaking down the science, y'all will understand this is when we talk about the school of boxing, folks, it's not just throwing punches. It's a lot more to the game. I'm going to catch you guys later on what you need. Peace. I'm out.